Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to another edition of Live with Bluegrass Pride. My name is Justin Hiltner, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that we have this opportunity to gather together here, albeit virtually, on a Sunday afternoon slash evening, wherever you are in the country or around the world, to share some music, to share some fiddle tunes, and to just have some good old-fashioned Bluegrass Pride fellowship. If you're just joining us, welcome to Live with Bluegrass Pride. My name is Justin Hiltner. I have the distinct pleasure and honor of serving as chair of the board of directors for Bluegrass Pride. We're a 501c3 organization that's dedicated to uplifting and creating opportunities for LGBTQ plus folks in roots music, but in bluegrass and old time and string band music and country. We're all about just creating a more equitable, just, and representative reality in Americana music the world over, but especially in bluegrass, especially in the South and across the United States. I wanted to make a point of mentioning that we can't do what we do here at Bluegrass Pride without you, without people giving. And we'd ask today that if you're enjoying the show, if you're here for Nokosee Fields, please donate. We're asking for a suggested $10 donation. The link will be peppered throughout the show here on screen, but also you'll find it in the comments section or in the video description, depending on where you're watching. So please make sure to give. The money is going to Nokosee, but also goes towards creating more opportunities at Bluegrass Pride in the future. And we'd really like to put our money where our mouth is, as it were, and create these work opportunities for queer folks in roots music. You have a direct impact here by giving to Bluegrass Pride. You're putting money directly in the pockets of the folks who need it most. And you may not realize this, despite the fact that we're meeting in a virtual setting, but queer folks are disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. And so during this pandemic, we've kind of reconfigured our mission as an organization to be about uplifting and supporting LGBTQ folks throughout the pandemic, as well as throughout their careers in music as well. This is a monthly showcase series we're doing. So if you like tuning in for Live with Bluegrass Pride, you should sign up for our email newsletter, follow us on social media. We'll be doing more of these shows. We'll have another one in December, and then throughout the new year, we'll be looking at monthly shows from queer folks and allies in roots music. I know I get so excited for these opportunities, not only because I get to host them for our first couple here, but also because the music is just so good. So we want you to keep abreast of that as we move forward. And we want you to be able to take part in Bluegrass Pride from wherever you are, with whatever restrictions on social gatherings are in place. We can still gather here together and share in really great music. So watch for more events coming up. Watch for that news. We hope that you will take a moment, if you can, during the show to check out our store on our website. We've got a Giving Tuesday campaign going on right now as well that we want you to be aware of. But for today, I'm just really happy to be able to share in a virtual space with somebody that, despite the fact that we've never met in person, feels like a kindred spirit in roots music to me. Our guest today, I'm really excited about. He's just a really excellent fiddler. He does that. He does that thing that I love in old time musicians and fiddlers, where they can bridge the gap between something sounding so ancient and raw and authentic, while it also sounds so impossibly clean and crisp and like of this moment. And so I'm really excited today. This multi-instrumentalist, he plays fiddle as well as playing bass. You might know him from Western Centuries, or perhaps from Hard Drive, or maybe even from the old time act Steam Machine. But really, without further ado, let me bring on our guest for today, because today is about the guest, not about me. Ladies and gentlemen, Nokosee Fields. I wasn't sure which side of the screen. Hey!
What's up?
Oh man, the Hollywood shade. Wait, hold on. Where am I? We could have coordinated this, Nokosee, and now you've hung me out to dry.
Yeah, I was I was pulling a surprise. It's kind of my thing.
I love it. This is brilliant. How are you today? How are things where you're at? How you feeling?
I don't know. I'm kind of nervous, to be honest. My friend just passed away, and I'm like feeling really kind of.
Yeah.
I did most of the grieving earlier in the week.
That's so hard. I'm so sorry for your
Super
loss.
hard, but also it's just I want to be just super honest about how I'm feeling, because I feel like COVID has pushed me into being just really upfront with how I feel about everything.
Yeah. Well, and I
but I'm also excited. I'm excited to like play some music and just like do something
music
different.
truly therapeutic, and I appreciate your willingness to be vulnerable. It's really hard to feel like the only way we can interact with folks is like through two dimensions right now. And I feel like everybody's got a loaded answer to that loaded question these days. How are you? It's always like, holy, I don't know how to answer that. So thank
But
you
I feel like
for,
I'm good. I don't know. I feel really fortunate. Like I've got my roommate that I play music with. I've got this like nice big house that I just moved into in the summer. I have like another really close friend here. I just feel I've got a lot of love and support. And even though like being an artist is kind of like life on a tight wire,
it is.
you're kind of like poor one day, and then like the next, like later that night, you can be like you can do okay. You can be doing pretty good. And it's like, so I'm kind of used to being like everything fluctuating anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just kind of having different opportunities like through being an artist seems like, I don't know, fortunate in during the COVID,
Absolutely. Yeah.
during the new dark ages.
Well, there's something about like the way that, especially in more like folky vernacular kind of ways of music, that the DIY quality of it is really such that it really does change moment by moment. It's not like
And I'm used to that.
there's not so much an overarching, that nimbleness, the ability to respond in real time is something that's kind of a quality of musicians. I mean, I feel like it's been a weird purgatory kind of a year where everybody's been doing winter all year long, so like it's like that winter mode of I hope I get to when festival season comes back again, but like it's been a year of that like weird suspended reality.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, I don't know. I guess speaking of weather, which we weren't necessarily speaking about weather, but it's like it's super nice down here. I don't know, just but there's
Tell
like all
folks
these
where you're at.
factors. I'm in
Louisiana?
Louisiana. I'm in Lafayette, Louisiana, and it's been beautiful. Once this hard, intense summer kind of passed, which I wasn't really supposed to be here for that, but whatever. It's like the weather's just been like beautiful, and so.
And you've gotten
like,
through the hurricane season okay too?
Yeah, we were fine. Other places not so much, but we were good, and I don't know. Very fortunate. I feel like compared to how other people are dealing with this, I think I'm like doing pretty good. Me and my little crew,
keep it in perspective.
Like, we're doing good.
That's good to hear, and I'm glad to hear. It's always good to be able to check in with folks, and it's one of the things that, as somebody who does interviews and writes and has Q&As pretty frequently, it's kind of nice to be able to check in with people and see how they're doing on the home front. How do you feel as a musician, as a creator? Like, do you feel like this has been a lot of people have been taking this moment to like intentionally slow down and focus on the day-to-day and the craft of creating and like technique and practicing. Some people have kind of gone through plateaus. Some people have, opened up entire new avenues through music. Where have you found your creativity flowing through the past few months?
Well, I feel like I have like a really I really love nesting. And so when we got into this new place, the last place we lived was like such a shithole. But this place is great. And it's kind of like been a musician house over the years. Nice. And it was like really fun to kind of inherit it, even though it was like kind of through like the COVID parameters. But it's been nice to like really get my house like going. And someone gave me a ton of plants. I've never really owned plants. It's like, I just really I've understood why they're so great, but like having them in your room and all up in your house, it's like, yeah. And so like, I feel like nesting has been pretty serious. I've been cooking. I always cook. But that kind of goes in waves, but I've been cooking a lot. Trying to
I can see you've got a lot of great natural light. Do you have a favorite plant baby? At the moment, I'm nursing a couple of orchids that are a little angry at me, but do you have a favorite? Do you name them?
No, I haven't done that. It's just like the golden pothos. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah.
Just vines. I really like the vines. Whatever this thing is, I love it. Yeah, and music, I've kind of gotten in and out of ways of music. Like I feel like I kind of took 2 months off. I just was incredibly uninspired. But then I kind of went down this like weird like Texas fiddle rabbit hole, which I never saw coming. I learned a handful of tunes, and I just love select fiddlers.
Yes. Well, I kind of wanted to ask you something about that because, Texas fiddling and contest fiddling, the Venn diagram of those two things is often a circle, even though it tends to, sometimes overlap a little less. And sometimes I wanted to ask you about contest playing and what what that community means to you, why you like playing contests, why you like being in like, because it's such a fiddle thing. Like, even though I'm a banjo player and I've played in dozens of contests in my life, there's a unique fiddle community that exists in contest playing. And I wanted to see what your thoughts were about when you bump up against that community, and how you feel about like that sort of Texas contest style versus like the more old time styles, and how they both kind of merge in contest playing, especially in your contest playing.
Well, I guess my only real experience with like contests is like the fiddlers, old time fiddlers convention.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, and so it's like that is kind of seems auxiliary. It's like, I know it's a huge part of it,
It's
but
like
yeah, it's not necessarily like why I'm there, but it's also like, oh, you might as well give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I like kind of showing what I have at times, you know,
Yeah.
if I'm like feeling good, or if like it's a good exercise. I like kind of grew up playing on stage through like classical music and stuff when I was younger. So I'm not like a stranger to like kind of putting it all out there, and then either just having like it smack you in the face, or kind of being rewarded. And so I like doing that. And I don't know, I'm like kind of competitive at times, but I don't think so much that it like, I don't know. I like.
No, I know what you mean. Like, as a kid, I feel like my parents kind of led me towards contests because it was like the bluegrass or old time version of a recital. It was like, okay, you've put in all this practice, let's put you up on stage. And there wasn't really like an analog to what like classical or like Suzuki method, like, or those sort of things have like these ways of giving your kids performance experience, as well as like those deadlines to work on, those like checkpoints to be like, all right, you got to get it ready for this. And in like vernacular music, like contests kind of stand in for that, when in lieu of, and also it's just the social gathering point where you see everybody from all around the state or all around the
Well, such a
county.
rush too. I really like the adrenaline I get, and I like feeling that rush, and then I really like kind of like calming it down. I don't know. It's a process. Like every time I do it, it's like I enjoy having to like kind of iron all this like crazy energy that I have.
Yeah, like channel it.
Yeah, and try to channel it. Yeah.
Are you somebody that like, when you get on stage to play a selection, you know every note you're going to play, or is it different every time? Like, what's the balance? Because when I was like 14, I worked up every single contest thing that I was going to do, and like practice top to bottom. And then as I got older and older, I was just like, I'm just going to get on stage and improvise. But like, what's your?
Yeah, I mean, I usually play tunes. I don't have a huge repertoire, but I usually play tunes that I'm like really comfortable with. And I don't know. But even I feel like when I play, it's only after I played the tune for like a handful of years that I feel like I've really landed on a way I like to do it. But even then, that's like more of a avenue for me to like start exploring a little deeper into like other things I wouldn't have arrived at earlier in like knowing the tune. So I don't know. In general, I feel like when I play, it's kind of always like I have this like structure I've built after like interpreting the tune, either from a friend or an old recording, and then I also just like I kind of just go for it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I like to mess around, and sometimes I'll do it so much that it like really messes everything up, and I don't really mind that because it means I'm like trying something.
Yeah.
But it's just experimenting.
Yeah,
I like to try and experiment. I don't know.
I like that. Well, and I can already tell, like, from your discography, from your like the bands that you play with. We mentioned a couple of them at the top, but I wanted our audience to have the chance to like look into some of them. Western Centuries, it's a really great like classic country and Americana act. Hard Drive is like this interesting sort of like self-aware take on like hard driving mash bluegrass with an old time flair. Steam Machine is an old time group. I wonder, like, you're talking about like kind of giving yourself a musical framework and then giving yourself permission to explore within that. I wonder how that feels when you're code switching between these different bands and their slightly different genre aesthetics, and also you're switching instruments between them as well.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I essentially learned. I've only played bass in like up until Western Centuries, like in bluegrass and old time, you know. And I taught myself how to play bass through like listening to some like mash. What is that, Mountain Tradition? That album. It's just like all fiddle tunes.
Yeah,
super mashy. That's like basically how I taught myself bass. I just put in my iPod.
I love it.
And I would just like practice like all that Barry Bale stuff, just like note for note. But so I feel like Western Centuries totally like pushed me into like doing. And I even told them when they were like, "Do you want to, be a part of this?" And I was like, "I'm super new to anything outside of like bluegrass old time bass playing," and they're like, "That's fine." And then I started playing electric bass like right as we recorded our latest album, and
Nice.
that was such a trip. I was like learning as we were going, and then we went on the road with the electric bass, and that was really like, I don't know, that was like
Do
a
you
whole other world of like music that I'd never been a part of, like electric and playing and like having a rig and like a bass, and
Yeah,
I loved it. I love it so much. And
that's
that's kind of why I
excellent.
moved down here. I was like, oh, I'm gonna like move to Louisiana, and I mean, there's so many great people down here, but I was like,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna play electric bass. I want to like get into some Zydeco stuff. It's like I want to like when I'm off the road, I want to like dig into some like groovy
Yeah, and well, in
stuff, and then
Louisiana,
go back on the road and be like, I've been working.
Louisiana is really great too because it just it seems like in other parts of the South, like white-centered forms of roots music tend to eclipse other forms of roots music, and we know that there is no such thing as a white-centered form of roots music. All roots music was created by Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, and often co-opted by white people. But in Louisiana, there are all these forms of vernacular music that are patently centering people that aren't white, and it's just like so refreshing to me to just go to a show like in New Orleans or something and be like, oh wow, what it feels different. It's not just a crowd of white people who
Yeah, I
think
mean,
they're
there's
the
a
only
whole
people who
world.
interact with this music.
There's a whole world that I'm just like not plugged into. And I had like one little foot in the door for like a second. I think I undersold myself, but whatever. But I don't know. I appreciate that there's like this huge world of Zydeco music that's just like completely unknown to me. But
Yeah.
I'm aware that it's existing.
Yeah, and it's
I
got
really,
that
I really
same sort
appreciate
of
that
old
it's
time
here.
stank on it too, and that's what's going to translate between them. I wanted to ask you about Oklahoma as well because you were born and raised in Oklahoma, and to me, there's a through line here that feels really tangible. The National Fiddlers Hall of Fame is in Oklahoma, and I wanted to ask you like what, because I know you came up through classical and through like Western European music, and I wonder what kind of aspects of Oklahoma music maybe influenced you moving from Western European and classical to more roots and old time? Because like to me, I think of like Vince Gills from Oklahoma, Herman Johnson, Byron Berline spent some time
Herman
in
Johnson.
in
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Bill Grant and Delia Bell, and Bill Grant was Choctaw. There's so much great indigenous roots music in Oklahoma as well. What aspect of like local music brought you to old time and bluegrass and fiddling and took you maybe influenced you realizing there was a world beyond classical?
Yeah, well, there was like I did like opera and like a little bit of early music, and I was really into that. And then I stopped doing that, and I took a huge break. And then I kind of was traveling around and I like went to a bluegrass festival just to kind of like mess around. Ended up seeing some jam. I'm just going to give a very brief synopsis. Ended up seeing some like really great jamming, and I was just like, wow, I love that. That's so cool. And then I like got home back to Oklahoma, and I like got a mandolin, and I was just like, I want to play. And then I kind of tried to get some friends into it, and then I met a whole other crowd of people that were like also either way into it or like were having a budding interest as well. And so I became close with this like kind of whole world of people in Oklahoma, and that was really transformative. But then I just felt like I needed more. I just like wasn't quite getting enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was all very new, and I was like very different, and I needed more. So I moved to Tennessee and stuff, and then tried to pursue some music there, and I just kind of got further in. And then I felt like I kind of like that's when like things really changed is when I left to kind of like seek what I wasn't able to get.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And I feel like that's why I'm probably sitting here like right now. There's a ton of reasons, but I was just kind of finally getting plugged into like a deeper, broader world. That the thing I think with some of that the Oklahoma, it can be really like centered, and they almost take like pride. Or it can be they almost take pride in like keeping it very insular, which I can understand. But at the time, that wasn't enough for me.
Yeah, I mean,
but it was like I'm
relatable
and grateful for all that experience, because I wouldn't have been pushed to want more, and I feel like I'm infinitely happier with my life now that I've pursued
and that feeling
traditional fiddle music.
Yeah, and that feeling when you're like when you have that sort of like primal craving for more of that music, more of this X factor, more of this thing that you can't quite put your finger on, and then when you bump into a bunch of people who also have that feeling, and you realize that like people spend their whole lives chasing it, and like there are entire communities, and like I don't know, I just remember that feeling of like, oh, there are other people that want to, oh wow, and then like it's like the world is your oyster, and clearly, especially with the way that like as we're talking about Western Centuries and Steam Machine and Hard Drive, like you've got fingers in so many different musical pots. It's very clear that you are still chasing down that roots music feeling. Speaking of music, I'm wondering if we should transition to some tunes now. I
Sure.
am really
Ryan, do you want to play
appreciating
some
our
music?
conversation, and we're going to chat a little bit more in the future as well. And maybe in a few minutes we'll talk again. But all of this talking about fiddling and about Oklahoma and about music is making me feel like now might be the good time for some fiddling. Folks, I'm so excited for you to hear Nokosee's music.
This is
I'm
also
gonna
my roommate, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. Everybody, welcome Ryan as well.
He can't
I'm
hear
going to
you.
turn it over to them. So without further ado, everybody give it up for Nokosee Fields on Bluegrass Pride.
All right. Let's do this. I'm feeling weird, so this is probably just going to be weird. Shit, are we even in tune?
You didn't really tune. I think we're all right.
Oh, I don't think I am. I've been having the hardest time tuning anything. How did that sound? I think it sounded awful. Rhythmically, it felt good, I think. Whatever.
This is kind of.
How are you?
I'm good. I just need to shift a little.
Let's do that. This one is called Cold Rolled Steel Cutouts. God. Okay. Nice. Oh, this is kind of hard. Turkey buzzer? Alright, here's a little classic USC tune. It's called Turkey Buzzer. Should we like what kind of tempo? I don't know.
Whatever you feel like.
It's getting kind of obnoxious on that. Lovers first quarrel. Or
Whichever you want.
what's that one?
Okay.
Is everyone doing it there? first set. We're good. I'm gonna get back on, have a little chat.
Good.
Hold on, I put my headphones in. Good try.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. What's up? Oh wait, I can't hear anything. Am I muted? I can't hear you.
I'm muted. I've been talking this whole time, and I'm the one on mute. I was just saying thank you to Nokosee Fields and Ryan Nickerson for the amazing music, sounding so good. I'm really enjoying it on my end, and I know our audience is enjoying it as well, despite the fact that I said all of that muted first. Great tunes. I love a tune about a bird. I'm a bird nerd, so we love getting our bird references in old time. You know, I wanted to come back for this portion of our interview, and I did want to mention it wasn't on purpose that we booked you the week before #NoThanks and also during Indigenous Heritage Month, but I think it's a kind of a perfect opportunity for me to say to our audience that Thanksgiving is literally a holiday that celebrates genocide. And I wanted to make a challenge to our audience that if you are celebrating next week, I'm not going to tell you to not to, even though I think you should. But I will say that the average American spends $45 a person on food budgets for Thanksgiving when Indigenous people in this country and around the world face food insecurity at much, much, much higher rates than the average population. So with that in mind, I would like to challenge you, if you're able, not to just give a $10 suggested donation today. This money is going to go in the pocket of Nokosee Fields. Please pay $45. If you're having a group for Thanksgiving during a pandemic when we probably shouldn't be having groups, maybe $45 a person is the reparations that ought to be paid, and you can have that direct impact on an Indigenous musician's life and income this month in Nokosee Fields. Nokosee, did you want to say anything about that? I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you want to?
All right. I mean, I think it's like, okay, I love gathering and cooking. Like those things are great. That's like,
yes.
To me, the tribe, like the thing that humans are supposed to be doing is like food, music, and dance. Like that's what we all like.
That's what we're built to do.
That's what we're built to do, you know. And then, God, Thanksgiving. So I don't know. So yes, celebrating and like food and like getting together like that is obviously great, you know.
Yes.
If that is something that's for your life, but also, it's just such a like lame, awful, mythological like holiday. Like
exactly.
We all know, I mean, we should know this. I don't know. And it's like we're still kind of clinging onto it. And it's like it's also just like people make it's like the grossest like capitalist like food. It's just like you dump Campbell's like can into like
genetically engineered
tray. It's just like disgusting food, and it's just like a disgusting holiday. Again, though, I mean, you should get and like cook, you know, like last night I had like two friends over and we made some food, you know, and like it was just good. Some like whatever, you sit around and eat food.
Let's just make that a challenge to our audience.
Also, it's a pandemic. Just like
exactly.
It's a pandemic.
We're not asking like individuals to solve all of the problems of colonialism in one holiday, but we are asking you to be much more mindful about what you're celebrating, why you're celebrating. And if you are spending a lot of money on food, there are Indigenous people all around this country that don't have those resources. So if you're able to give not only to Bluegrass Pride today to support Nokosee, but also there are a bunch of great Indigenous hunger and food security organizations out there that I would encourage you to donate equivalent to your food budget to an Indigenous organization. And please be safe. COVID is spiking around the country right now. I'm based in Nashville, and it's getting scary here in Nashville again. All of our hospitals are full. So please be making decisions, risk-aware COVID decisions, because the pandemic also has an outsized impact, not only on Indigenous people around the country, but especially on LGBTQ folks and Indigenous LGBTQ folks. To bring it back to music for a second, I did want to ask, are you picking up any new instruments in pandemic? Are you like, oh, now's the time, I want to play something new? Because I know a lot of people have, and like, while I feel like I might want to maybe start tinkering on a pedal steel, I feel like maybe I am wasting. I don't know.
If you like torturing yourself, go for it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Any new instruments?
I'm playing more guitar. You know what? My friend, this is kind of a funny story. My friend found a guitar on Facebook Marketplace. I am such a Facebook Marketplace. Like,
oh man.
It's
Addicted.
bad. It's addicting. You know, I'm like always moving stuff out of my house. Like I'm like selling stuff and then or like finding trash to sell. Like
Oh,
you know,
right.
like a
And the way
coffee
that people
table.
always
You
want
know,
to
and then it's
trade,
like
I'm
you
always
know,
considering trades I shouldn't consider.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
people are like, would you trade? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I would.
I'm always like turning over stuff. Okay, and then okay, so my friend found a guitar and it was like this like '60s Yamaha, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get it." And I like kind of know this person too, and I was like, "Damn, I want that." And he's like, "Well, I can't really afford it right now." And so like I went behind his back and like messaged the dude, and then I like woke up super early the next morning and I was like, "I will pay you like upfront through PayPal like right now for this guitar." Anyway, long story short, I like swiped this guitar from my friend, but we share it, and he was still
Just
there.
your
David.
custody. That's excellent.
Yeah, we share it. But now I have this like really interesting, like little pretty good sounding guitar. It needs a lot of work. But I'm doing more guitar work than I ever really thought. It's fun. I like just kind of slowing down some old recordings and like playing really straightforward stuff and slowly getting into some like early blues because my roommate and my other friend they're both into that and we're kind of working up some of that material. And
What's
so
your what is your hold on, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. With the blues picking, what's your like end game right hand style? Like what's your
I'm
like
just playing with a pick right now. I'm just trying to play like super. I'm just trying to get like the groove. Like some of the
like
I haven't gone that far, but I can see the appeal for sure. But some of that stuff that's like really straightforward and it's just like I'm assuming it's pick. I don't know. It's just something for me that I haven't done before, like slowing a recording down and just like picking apart some like guitar parts. You know, it's like trying to just pick up some like old groove that is lacking in today's music.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I wanted to ask you too, for our audience's benefit, before we get to, back to some tunes. I wonder who, like, you know, you are something of a song collector. You're talking about playing with old recordings. Something of a researcher. Who are maybe 2 or 3 folks that you think are like top of line fiddlers or instrumentalists that you listen to that maybe our audience wouldn't be aware of that you would want to turn them on to?
A few years ago, I had a friend turn me on to Cecil Plum. He's like, "Hey, you might like this stuff." Super into that. I love it. I haven't really learned a ton of it, but what I have learned, I really love. I just he's I think he's pretty old in those recordings. You can get it on like the Field Recorders Collective website. Really great, super fine. It's just like finesse. It's just like he's got such control and like it's just like super beautiful playing. And he like I think he writes some of the stuff. I don't know. I'm like, that's kind of like, not like my holy grail, but I just like, it's so great. And he has like little interviews kind of sprinkled in there. And he just,
I love that.
Not wanting to work and only play fiddle. And it's like, I mean, I feel like I definitely identify with that. I don't know that.
That's exactly right up the alley of what I was talking about. Another excellent forebear. Well, I wanted to be cognizant of time and also the fact that like the fiddle is the point here. We've got maybe another 10 minutes or so.
Oh, cool.
Do you want to play some more tunes for us?
Let's do it.
Beautiful. Everybody, I want to make the challenge one more time before I leave your screen. If you're celebrating Thanksgiving this year, a $45 donation would be the way to start down the right path towards reparations for that. All of the money today is not only going towards Nokosee Fields, but it's going towards making more work opportunities for LGBTQ folks with Bluegrass Pride moving forward. I'm going to turn it back over now to Nokosee Fields and Ryan Nickerson. Take it away, fellas.
All right. Okay, what should we play? Let's do the Big Elk. All right. Well, 49 Cats. Try that.
Sure.
All right. We're gonna try one called 49 Cats in the Rain Barrel. From Orville Burns, kind of. Love this fiddling. Let's do one more. One more. Do one more. That was fun. All right, we're gonna do one more. Let's do G with the 6. Bound to have a little fun.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ladies
Ronnie,
and
my
gentlemen,
headphones.
and our non-binary friends.
Ryan Nickerson, best guitar player.
Ryan Nickerson and
Old-time
Nokosee Fields.
Music today.
I'm clapping. I think everybody's clapping. That was really excellent. Thank you so much for being a part of the Bluegrass Pride family.
Thank
and
you for having me.
for playing. Oh yeah, this is the first of many times we will work together. I am certain of it. Thank you for the tunes. Thank you for being here. I want to say to our audience, please give if you haven't already. We're asking for a suggested $10 donation, but if you heard earlier, in honor of hashtag no thanks next week, we're asking for those of you celebrating to give a suggested $45 donation to match the average per person price spent on food for a holiday that celebrates genocide. I just want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank you, Nokosee, and thank you again, Ryan, for being here. It's been my pleasure. I know it's been the pleasure of everybody watching and tuning in as well. And for those of you at home, stay tuned. We're going to have monthly showcases, so there'll be monthly live streams and more programming from Bluegrass Pride coming soon. I just want to hit it one more time. If you haven't given already, please do. My name is Justin Hiltner. Thanks again to Nokosee Fields, and thanks to Ryan Nickerson. And we'll be back next month with another edition of Live with Bluegrass Pride. Until next time.